Welcome to the Jamal Thomas Show. Well, I guess I could say morning show because it's 2 in the morning here. But there's news. And when there is news, when real men can't sleep, real men do the news, especially at a moment like this. In real terms, we are at the brink of war. And I mean that in the most literal sense of the word. Donald Trump has fundamentally, completely betrayed this country, meaning he is betraying America with every action and every step that he has taken since being in the administration. MAGA needs to come to some strong and correct realization that they have been fundamentally hoodwinked. They have been lied to. Banana in the tailpipe, as some people will call it. And in real terms, regardless of what CNN is saying, that Trump is given it 2 weeks, there's no reason to believe that he is going to wait 2 weeks. What is my rule? Habitual liars lie. And the very real truth of it is, I believe Seymour Hersh more than I believe CNN, that Donald Trump is looking for an attack to take place either over this weekend or at the very least very soon. You can see the pieces being moved around the board. You can see the troops being moved out of harm's way in certain locations and certain military bases. You can see the aggregation of force that is going into that particular region. This is not about nukes. That is what people need to fundamentally understand. Again, I don't give a shit about what's on mainstream media. This is not and has never been about nukes any more than it was about nukes for Iraq. This is about a regime change war. Here's the catch. Iran is not Iraq. This is not 2003. The capabilities and the forces that Iran has at its disposal and the friends that it has at its disposal is dramatically different than what Iraq was effectively going through. A country that used to be isolated is now cheered by the world for what it is doing and its decapitation and disassembly of a colony, a fascist colony that has gone on a genocidal rampage for the last 2 years and is continuing that rampage right now, just like Hitler in his Fuhrer bunker when the Nazis were being decapitated by the Soviets as the Soviets were rolling into Berlin, when it was clear that the Soviets were rolling into Berlin, and you still had the ovens burning. You still had the concentration camps running as if it was clockwork. I'm saying that whereas Iran at one point was isolated, it is now a champion of the world because it has decided to get involved in something after it was maliciously attacked during negotiations, no less. And the world, who has stood by watching in horror as a genocide take place, see a country standing up, not just for itself, but for the dignity of the Muslim world in general. They're heroes in the way that they're functioning. Doesn't really matter what you think about their government. Doesn't really matter if you don't like this kind of religious organization to which they find themselves. You can blame the US and Britain for that, by the way, since they overthrew that government and Iran took that government back, getting rid of that hellish Shah. My point is that in the same way, you may not like Stalin and the Soviets. 80% of the Nazis that were killed on the Eastern Front. They stood up for the world and had to give up nearly 30 million people to do it. And I'm saying right now, Iran is taking a heavy toll. I think they lost up to 500 people, if not more, and standing up to this new iteration of Nazis. And I call them what they are because of what they are doing, what they've been doing, not just for the last 2 years, but for the last 70 years. The point that I'm making is that we, the US, is on the wrong side of history. Donald Trump is about to go in and attack a country that is beating back fascists, killers. So we need to really understand and put in context what is about to happen. We spent $10 trillion on the war in Iraq. $10 trillion. And what is happening? Who runs Iraq right now? Oh, right, the Taliban. And just as an interesting historical note, a group that we funded because we wanted them to go after the Soviets when we effectively goaded the Soviet Union to invade Afghanistan. I'm trying to make a very basic point. Whatever levity I may have in this particular video, we need to be very clear that we are on the brink of war. And this idea and this question that consistently was looming of what are the great powers going to do, considering the importance of Iran in regards to this new multipolarity that is coming into fruition, what is Russia, what is China going to do? Because that has the way in regards to how this comes out, right? What is Pakistan going to do? What is North Korea going to do? Yeah, it's very clear that Israel has nukes, but if it fires off one of those nukes, is it possible that Pakistan gives Israel the capability of firing off or on their own? We need to fully grasp the severity of this moment. And this administration full of hubris, bile, full of racism. What have I said? Racist people don't see the world clearly. Just as every bit as much as I point out habitual liars lie. Both of those things are almost laws of nature, as real and significant and as binding as gravity itself. And so this is where we are. An administration full of Zionist whack jobs and neocons that has lied to the American public that the issue was about a bomb that even his own national security team doesn't agree with him with. George Bush at least was able to cherry pick information and present a BS argument for this idea of invading a country. Donald Trump's own government, a government that he organized, doesn't even agree with him on. And people like Tulsi Gabbard, who pointed out this is nonsense. They're not doing what you said they're doing. IAEA Grossi, who is a captured entity who effectively was working with the Israelis to get Iranian scientists killed, even he came out and said, they're not working on trying to create a bomb. And yet you have Donald Trump setting up a lie, saying that they are. None of his business, either way. And that he, which let's be very honest, on behalf of Israel and U.S. policy, that has been U.S. policy going back for the last 25 years. This is why I'm trying to nail down that this is not about a bomb. There's been a coherent strategy from one president to the next, regardless of party, to effectively shape or use U.S. power to reshape the Middle East. Whether that's us going in directly, as in Iraq, Afghanistan, or for that matter, Syria, where we've effectively paid billions of dollars to overthrow and undermine the Syrian government, or whether that's using our client, proxy, the fascist state of Israel, to do it on our behalf. Either way, both of those things and the wants of Israel and the United States dovetail in regards to reshaping the Middle East for them to create their greater Israel, but for us to have a certain level of geopolitical control. This negotiation of concerns or diversification of concerns. Europe, you deal with Russia. Israel, you deal with your greater Israel, which is effectively reshaping in the Middle East, and we'll pivot to China. They weren't able to do it. What they feel in the real sense of the word is that their power and hegemonic control is slipping away. That's what this is all about. That's why this level of desperation is taking into play right now. They, racist people, don't see the world clearly, looked at Ukraine as a way for them to stick it to the Russians and to gain that much more control, where the fascists, the Nazis, the literal Nazis in Ukraine looked at it and say, the way for us to get into NATO and put NATO on the border is for us to go through Russia to do it. And Russia is just Nigeria with snow. We have all of these countries of the European Union and NATO backing us in our pursuit of this. They're going to give us all the money and the weapons in the world. They're going to go after Russia economically, obviously. Even though we don't have a game plan, we will clearly win it because, God damn it, we're white, we're Europeans, and we can do it. And they fail. And they fail miserably, economically and militarily. And not just fail, ends up deindustrializing their own states, bankrupting their own states in the process, with America standing back and said, okay, it didn't work in that one, so now let's go after Iran. We have a bunch of Zionists, whack job, lunatics, sociopaths that is in our administration that is effectively taking control of our government. And we are about to embroil ourselves into war that is going to get Americans killed for a fascist, hateful, racist state, a settler colonial state of squatters that are effectively there, that have been murdering people en masse in the most horrific of ways for the last several years. We are on the wrong side of history. Donald Trump is about to embroil this country into fuckery, radically uncertain at that, in regards to what we're going to encounter and in regards to potential outcomes. Iran is not an independent actor. It is not alone. It is not isolated. We are isolated. Europe is isolated, the 14% of the globe that feels its power slipping away. God never told the United States that it needed to maintain control of the globe in perpetuity. Nobody gave that edict. And they know that if things continue as it is, meaning if nothing changes, if reality and the world just continues on its course, that China is out the barn. Russia is a military power. They know that India, South Africa, Africa is a continent in and of itself. Many of these other nations that have decided they want a different lot in life, and that this idea of hegemonic control of the globe has run its course because America has lost its mind. They want something different. We, from our point of view, don't. From our point of view, any notion of trying to go against hegemonic control is effectively trying to destroy the rules-based order where we set the rules and everybody else follows them. And we are doing everything in our power in utter, complete panic and desperation to try to avoid that outcome and that reality, even if it means setting the world on fire, which is what Donald Trump is about to do. Your proxy couldn't get the job done, meaning Israel, your client. And because your client couldn't get the job done, it is now being disassembled and dismantled. And what Trump knows is if he stays back, his little colony of squatters of 8 million people who are effectively trapped in Israel right now because Netanyahu don't let them leave, because if you let them leave, they would effectively flee like rats on a ship trying to get off of the burning boat. That's what he knows. And I mean that in a sense of, the colloquialism, not in terms of racist sense. I'm trying to make the point that this is not for us as Americans. Donald Trump is not fighting the deep state. He is the deep state. He has betrayed everything that he said on the campaign trail, and he's continuing to do so now. And in the same way that he lied about negotiations, because I kept telling you the negotiations were fake, in the same way that he lied about the negotiations, they're now throwing chum in the media that, he's going to take 2 weeks to think about it. Maybe it takes that time for him to get military force in the region for him to do whatever the hell he's planning on doing. Maybe not, right? Habitual liars lie. This could be another thing of trying to lull people into a false sense of security. So what I'm going to do, considering we're on the brink of war, I want to give the latest updates about what is taking place on the ground, because there's a lot of big news that has started to evolve. And some of the questions that we had on this are starting to be, at the very least, on the low level answered. When people were screaming, where's Russia and where's China? I kept pointing out, they're going to let it play out. They're not going to throw their chips on the table without knowing what the table is going to ultimately look like. All things being equal, they're not going to want their country, meaning a country that they work with, to fall. Even if Iran decides it wants to go bare-chested and not work in alignment, those countries, considering the importance of Iran in that region, are not going to let it fall. So I want to point out the latest news. I want to point out the latest strikes, because, again, the strikes are happening. It's not that Israel is not murdering people. They are. They're killing people also in Iran. But there's a difference between a country of 80 and 90 million people that are resolute, that are fighting with passionate rage and anger, with a certain amount of righteous indignation, and a genocidal colony that is, for all intents and purposes, made up of only 8 million people, that is fundamentally weak in and of itself, and that without its big brother giving it a blank check would be nothing. The very air it breathes comes out the ass of America. They know it, and they are understanding it in real terms, with the Muslim fists hitting them over and over again without the capability of doing anything to stop it. So I want to go over some of these videos. As always, we need to orient ourselves. Orienting principle, starting here. Israel is still murdering people as they try to get food. So let's start there first. This scene is coming out. Yes, these are just starving people. This is not a Second World War video. These are not people with guns and ammunition and artillery. These are starving, hungry people that they are effectively taking out their rage on because they can't take it out on Iran. That's what they're doing right now. That's what they're doing right now. They're bombing those starving people also, killing hundreds. Over the last 4 or 5 days, they've killed like 500-600 people. Starving, hungry people, women and children. This video is going to get demonetized. Fair enough. All of my videos for the last several times have been demonetized. Fair enough. We're at the brink of war. That matters more. They're just killing people at this point. They're just killing people at this point. Here is another clip of them just bombing Gaza. They're just killing civilians. That's all they're doing. If you want to see what a concentration camp looks like, look at this. There's an episode of Star Trek. Oh, you can't see it. This. I'm sorry. There's an episode of Star Trek where the people were so packed into pens, and it was horrifying. That's horrifying. Women, children, starving people, that they get into a certain area, and then when they get into that area, you have lunatics that come out and do this. And they call it crowd control. They call it crowd control. I can show you a list of the hospitals that they bombed and destroyed. I think it's like 92, 93% of the hospitals in Gaza are gone. I showed you the video where they blew up a Turkish hospital, just cancer facility. Gone. Hateful, racist people do hateful and racist things, especially when you spend 70 years dehumanizing the people to which you are occupying. All right. So they didn't believe the oven was hot. It's hot. So what does Netanyahu have to say? Netanyahu came out and gave a statement. What do you think he had to say about this? His cities are getting bombed. I've shown you day after day the videos of his cities just getting trashed. That McGregor said 3% or 1/3 of Tel Aviv. I don't know. 1/3 sounds high to me. That sounds extremely high. But obviously, you're talking about a colony that is not accustomed to having their cities blown up, not accustomed to spending 20 hours a day in a bomb shelter. This is not something that they have the will for. It's okay if you're shooting a child with a rock. It is okay if you're burning a child alive. But to have somebody that can hit you in the face with passionate anger is a very different animal. So Netanyahu need to explain, hey, this doesn't seem to be going well. We're begging America to now get involved because we realize that we can't do this on our own. What do you have to say, Netanyahu?
וגם אני חייב להגיד, יש אנשים שלצערנו גם נהרגו, משפחות ששכלו יקירים, אני מאוד מעריך את זה. כל אחד מאיתנו נושא מחיר אישי, זה לא פסח על המשפחה שלי. כן, פעם שנייה שבני אבנר, בגלל איום טילים וירי טילים, מבטל חתונה, זה בוודאי מחיר אישי יקר לו.
What he said was, this is the second time my son has gone through this. And my family had to pay the price as well because he had to cancel his wedding. Ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit? He had to cancel his wedding, man. That's rough for us. That's difficult for us. That's very difficult for us. I still say, well, that's not rough enough, obviously. Here is the Israeli soldiers hanging out in their bomb shelters. Why don't they go on and fight? That's what they were saying about Hamas. Why don't they come on and fight? Defend your country, bro. Right? Go on, defend your country. Now, let's get into some of the strikes that have been taking place today. This has been taking place today. So this, if I am not mistaken, is Haifa. And Iran has gone after, just to set this up, Iran has gone after one of the ministry buildings that is apparently near the Knesset. Yes, their strikes are getting. Whew, that guy don't seem to be taking that all that well. And apparently I love the Allah Akbar. So passionate. Oh, Akbar! And the missile just goes flying in the sky. This is, let's see, this was one missile that was fired. Now, this is what is it called? I think it's like a tech center. If I'm not mistaken, it's like IBM or not IBM, Microsoft. They fired one missile. That one missile was not intercepted, and it hit its target dead on. This is the video you're about to watch. All right, let's see another angle for this. This is, I think it's called the Microsoft Center at Beersheba. This was the one missile that was fired. That place is not going to work anymore. And just to be clear, all of these military targets, this place helps with the military, AI, cyber, stuff like that. Yep. That's how it happens. That's how it happens. If you want another view of this, right here, here's another view. If you just so happen to be unlucky enough to be in that building, this is what it looked like. This is some good coffee. Whew, this is some good coffee. What is this? Moccana. I got rid of my Nestle. I got Moccana now. Moccana coffee. Malaysian coffee. This is some good hot coffee. I showed the one where it's on fire. You've seen this video. That place is not going to work. They're going to have to rebuild that. That's assuming they're going to still exist. Here's another missile strike. Now, this is the aftermath of a strike. Now, you have the press here. This, of course, is, Western press. And of course, they're going to cry and they're going to bleed. Oh, my God. They hit this building. It was a civilian building. Oh, my God. I can't believe they did this. These dastardly Iranians who hit this building. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah, they're going to cry and bleed, right? Prick them and they bleed. Missing the fact that you've committed a genocide for the last year. But okay, fair enough. Let's play it out.
I am in Holon right now, one of the sites that had a direct Iranian ballistic missile hit to it. Let me just show you the buildings right now. Absolutely decimated. You can just see the impact this missile had. I mean, this entire floor collapsed right in the middle, down the entire apartment building. These are residential buildings.
It just collapsed in the middle. An entire residential building. Oh my God. Oh my God. I need some hot coffee. Whew, that is a good cup of coffee. It is a bit rich. Cry me a fucking river. I look at this clip and I think to myself, wow.
You can just see the impact this missile had. I mean, this entire floor collapsed right in the middle, down the entire apartment building. These are residential buildings. We have some crews, of course, on scene as well. You can just see, look at that, all the air conditioning units just coming out of the building, debris everywhere. We're going to have more updates on ILTV.
Tell me more. Jesus, tell me more. Just for point of reference, look at this. This is Gaza. That's Gaza. Tell me more about your apartment complex. Please do. Tell me more. Tell me more. Communicate more to me. Maybe I'll feel something. Short of, emancipatory, just amazement at Iranian capability. That's what they've done to Gaza. Put that in context. And yet, you get that minion of empire coming out weeping and crying tears for an attack that took place, that Iran did. Tell me more. Tell me more. Cry more for me. Here is another one. This one is fantastic. This clip is amazing to me. What has been taking place in Israel was not just their willingness to kill, murder, burn people alive, rape on camera, but mocking, the dancing, the going into people's rooms, putting on women's outfits and dancing, gleefully dancing. Look at the murders that we're committing. Ain't this great? Look how, awesome we feel as we do this. And they used to mock. This woman thought it was completely funny to mock Palestinians. She don't think it's funny now when they blew up her fucking house. On the right, that's her thinking it's perfectly funny what they're doing to Palestinians. On the left is her current house that no longer exists. Oh, it's not funny now for you? It's not funny for you? Oh, that's interesting. It's funny for me. It's funny for me. I got some damn good coffee too. Yep. I don't get it. On the right, she thought it was so funny. She thought it was the most comical thing in the world to mock people who were being starved to death and shot. But on the left, she loses her house. You better be lucky you kept your life. Let's keep going. Yes, I'm a hard ass on this. I mean, this is fucking outrageous. This is the attack in Haifa. Apparently, this was aimed at one of the ministry buildings.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? What the fuck? That is an appropriate reaction, right? What the fuck? What the fuck? I love that reaction. I'm sorry saying that. What the fuck? All right, here's another angle. I think that's for the same location. Absolute destruction, chaos. What the fuck? Oh, I think that was like an Uber or Grab driver. The guy was delivering pizza or something. Let's keep going. Here is another one. I think, what is this? This is the Israel Ministry of the Interior in Haifa. So this is directly at governmental building, destroyed the governmental building from my understanding. I don't know if it hit it directly, but the shockwave at the very least damaged, if not destroyed. Apparently this was also near the Knesset.
פגיעה ישירה בבניין שלנו, מוטי. תראה מה הולך לי בבניין, מוטי.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Here is, I think this is a Mossad headquarters. Heart of Israel. Yeah, Mossad fortified underground locations. Don't piss off the Iranians, right? Don't piss off Iran. Yeah, don't piss off the Iranians. Here is, what is this one? Sensitive areas in Palestinian territories. So apparently there was a rocket launch. It was intercepted. And when it hit, it caused a fire in some of the occupied locations. That's a hell of a fire. It's hotter than my coffee. Yep. All right, let's get to the news portion. So you had an update on what has been taking place. Let's get an update on news that is happening on the ground, because there's movement that is effectively taking place beyond the strikes that are going back and forth. So Argachi, who apparently they tried to murder in an assassination ploy, they fortunately were not successful. He is, for whatever reason, wasting his time going to talk to the Europeans. I do not know why you're doing this, frankly. They are the enemy. They will remain the enemy. You're fighting an empire. These are just nodes of the empire. But whatever. If you want to keep up pretense, fair enough. This is him in Geneva. Want to have those talks. Let's just say it's delegation.
Mr. Minister, how are you, sir?
Now, the reason why I say these talks are pointless is because Europe, Israel's just a European colony. And when Iran was attacked in the middle of negotiations, what did Europe come out and say? Iran doesn't have a right to defend itself. How dare Iran respond to Israel? How dare they take them apart and disassemble them in the way that they're disassembling them? They couldn't find a word of condemnation of what their fascist colony of squatters were doing. They attacked Iran. So what is the point of you having a conversation with these people? These people are never going to give you an honest, fair exchange. What is the point? Yes, this is where I am right now. I don't see the point of appeasement, especially to people who are never going to be honest and fair in regards to their exchange. It doesn't matter what they tell you to your face. They are never going to be honest or straight with you. The JCPOA was something that was agreed upon with the European countries also. When America pulled out, what did Europe say? Iran, you better stay with the deal. So even though America is the one that pulled out, Donald Trump specifically was the one that pulled out of the JCPOA, everybody understood that Iran was sticking with the deal. Everybody accepts they were sticking with the agreement. Europe came out and attacked Iran for something that the United States did because they couldn't say anything against their masters. Vassals will be vassals. What is the point of talking to these people? What is the point? Optics? Appeasement? How is that gone for you? So yeah, I don't see the point in talking to vassals. I don't see the point in talking to people with no power in this process at all. And not just no power, who you can tell by their behavior and their acts what they are. You get attacked. They try to decapitate your leadership. They murder scientists. They murder civilians as they're blowing up apartment complexes. They murder people when they attack a hospital. And Europe could find no word of condemnation. You guys should get back to the negotiating table. And how dare Iran attack our colony in the way that they have attacked our colony? Pointless endeavor. I am beyond trying to get a good headline in the West. Whether that's Russia, whether that's China, whether that's Iran, whether that's North Korea, it doesn't matter what those countries are in that sense. You will never get a decent headline coming out of the West. These vassals would never deal with you in equal and honest terms. They would never see you as equals in regards to the negotiations to what you're having with them. And you can tell that by virtue of A, Grossi effectively being Israel's spy, and B, their response after you were viciously, sadistically attacked by a colony that is performing and going through a genocide right now. You have monsters that have killed hundreds of thousands of people. Those monsters, those sociopaths attack you. And what do the Europeans say? The same Europeans that have been lying about the war in Ukraine for the last 3 years. How dare you hit our colony back? How dare you respond with military force to these fascist, sociopathic, genocidal maniacs that have been murdering people for the last several years? How dare you do that? I'm saying Aragachi is a fantastic diplomat, but this is a worthless endeavor. Let's keep going. There's more. So powers are now getting involved. So if you remember, well, let's step back for a bit. The Guardian is reporting that Donald Trump is thinking about a 2-week plan to attack. I might attack in 2 weeks. I make my choice then. And that ultimately he wants a certain bunker buster or something and wants to know whether the quote unquote bunker buster will be able to get to Fordham power nuclear facility. Now, as I keep pointing out, this has nothing to do but nukes. Donald Trump's own intelligence doesn't back up his thinking this up. And he was willing to put a knife in Tulsi Gabbard as he getting intelligence from some random place to make his choice about attacking Iran. The entire point of this was a lie. The entire focal point, meaning the entire argument, was a lie. And the press was too stupid to acknowledge this is not about nukes. This is about regime change. The United States is a context that has gone all the way back to the overthrow of Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, and now you have Iran standing by itself after you've gotten rid of all of the other governments. Lebanon has been undermined, to put it mildly. And now you have Iran, something that Wesley Clark told you that they were trying to do for the last 20 years or more. For whatever reason, the media is unaware of that. They're blinded by it. They have the memory of a chipmunk. And so they are focusing on something that ultimately is not real. Seymour Hersh is saying something very different, that this attack is imminent. He's saying this is imminent. He says a major U.S. bombing campaign against Iran is expected to begin as early as this weekend, according to trusted Israeli and American sources. Approved by the Trump administration, the strikes will focus on key military and nuclear infrastructure, including the fortified Fordow facility, where Iran's most advanced centrifuges are located deep underground. The delay in timing, Hersh reports, is due to Trump's desire to avoid disrupting U.S. markets when trading begins on Monday. The operation goes beyond targeting Iran's nuclear capability. It aims to destabilize the country's leadership. U.S. and Israeli planners are counting on internal unrest to break out, hoping the strikes on military bases, police stations, and administrative centers will incite broader opposition. Why do you think I would say you should blow up the Knesset? Why do you think I come on and said Netanyahu's a fair game target? Because that's the way we think as Americans. Look, I keep telling you, I'm an American. I have a certain American point of view. And even in cases of war, that is my point of view. I am shaped by the country to which I find myself. We have no issue with the idea of going after political leaders to kill the Ayatollah, to kill the people below the Ayatollah, to kill Aragachi. That is fair game for us. Trump would brag about it immediately after he did it. So Iran being very particular and escalatory in the way that they're going about it, this kind of slow, prodding attacks to dismantle the capability of the Israeli state. There's a logic to it. Full agreed. That is not the way we think. What they think is that their bombing campaign is going to destabilize the country to such a degree, and people are going to rise up and they're going to say, oh my God, thank you, America and Israel, for taking over the governance of this country and for ruling us in the way that you have, did Syria, Libya, and all of these other countries. They're out of their fucking minds. They're out of their minds. Trump, who is, again, one of the dumbest presidents alive, may be given plans like this and say, hey, that's a great idea. He's looking at it in the coloring book and thinks they're going to see us as liberators. No, they're not. This is the same nonsense that told George Bush. When we go in and we smash the government, they're going to look at America as liberators because we're so great and we're going to bring out Coca-Cola and Pepsis, and they're going to be enamored by it. They get to watch porn. That's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to happen. None of these people want to be ruled by a group of genocidal monsters that think they're less than human beings. None of them. Any more than the Russians wanted to be ruled by Nazis. And part of the reason that the war broke out in Ukraine is because ethnic Russian Ukrainians looked at the Banderas that were effectively taken over based upon us helping them take over in 2014 and said, this is unacceptable. We're out. We want independence. The legitimate government has fallen. We are not going to be a part of this process. I'm saying nobody wants to be ruled by people who hate their guts and think they're less than human. And if Donald Trump is stupid enough to believe that this is going to create some upswell of revolution that is going to support the Israelis who've been committing a genocide and who is reviled as monsters by the rest of the world, he is dumber than I thought, which is pretty astonishing feat to accomplish. This is what they're thinking. This is not about nukes. Nukes is a bug. The feature is an overthrow of the government. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I am. There's a context. The context that followed, regardless of the administration. And this is where we are at a crisis point of empire. So that needs to be nailed down. They want to kill the Ayatollah, find somebody else to take his place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Turn Iran into a failed state. That's what they want. And if you notice, to murder a lot of people in the process as they do it. Civil servants, administrative people, people who work for government, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Habitual liars lie. So Trump telling the media 2 weeks, habitual liars lie.